It's Andrea Houston, and I was born in Bellevue, Washington. Heuston. It's my husband's. I've had it for 15 years. I'm just trying to still adjust. No, it was Huston, and some judge in the 1800s added the E to be different.
That's good.
Thank you, Judge. Now I have to spell it for everybody. Andrea Houston from Artitudes Design, and I'm the CEO and creative principal. We are a graphic design firm. I started as a designer in 1988, started freelancing in 92, got a business license in 95, was a sole proprietor all the way until 2005 when we incorporated and became a company. Some of my proud moments. When my children were born? Or you want my business proud moment? Oh, I love Seattle. I've always lived here, except for a few years in Europe and Canada, and I never want to be anyplace else. We have a very casual culture up here, too. I don't think I could do business on the East Coast because I could not wear a suit every day to work, nor could I make anyone in my company do that. I think it's a pretty good place to own and run a business because there are a lot of clients we can pull from. We're not only in high tech, but we do a lot for small business, and small businesses seem to flourish here despite the tax problems we have in the state. There's a lot of work out there. There's enough work for anybody who really wants to start a business and knows what they're doing. Well, the whole Puget Sound is like that. You can start a business and there's so much support for the starting of a business and people are excited about it. I know, I was talking to somebody yesterday who has 5 friends who are entrepreneurs. And they all have a decent business and it's all going well and they're all in the Puget Sound. I just went, how many people do you know nationwide that have that many friends that own businesses? It's a good place to have a business. I wanted to be a U.S. ambassador. In fact, I started my degree in international law and was working on the side as a production artist for an engineering firm where I really found what I love to do. And I figured out over time that I was better not taking direction but giving direction. So it made me a natural fit to be CEO. My father was in high tech. So actually he started as a teacher, but then he was into computers by 1977. Started at University Computing when I was, so it was 76 when I was 5 years old. We came back from Canada. And he started doing that. And then my mom was a teacher. Both. I was programming in BASIC by the time I was 7. So I can do both. We had apples in our house since Apple started. So I remember the big monster Apple II, Apple IIe, Apple IIc, all the way to the Lisa, and then the little tiny putty-colored Mac. I probably used about 7 fonts on a page, which is a big, big no-no, but it was fun to play. I went to high school in Renton at Hazen High School. You know, I was an exchange student, and that was when I really got passionate about being an ambassador and being into international law. And women who were, I don't think powerful is the right word, but women who were in positions of power. Even though I didn't agree with her theology, I really was a follower of Margaret Thatcher, of all people. It was just, I liked to see that women could be who they wanted to be. I was a nanny, my first job, for a little boy named Eric. And that was just a summer job. And then my first paying real job was for Taco Bell, of all places. I went into international law to do that at UW. I don't think I could have done it. It's way too left-brain. I need to be both. I need to be creative to be happy. One big one is I was working for this engineering firm, and I'd started in 1988, and in, I think it was 91 or 92, they had a whole huge round of layoffs, and I was laid off, and I was called back 2 days later because they'd laid off the entire design staff. So it was kind of a problem because they didn't know what they were going to do, and they called me back to work for them. So I started in again as an employee, and probably about 6 months later I said, I don't think so. I want to freelance. So I started freelancing, and that was where I finally found my feet. And I went, hey, I can control this. I don't have to work for anybody but me, and I can control what kind of work I take. And that really kind of defined where I was going. Because then I had a friend who had been in that big layoff and went to Microsoft, and she said, hey, we have a project over here for you. You want to do this? So it was really good to see that I could control what I was doing. My father had always worked for the man type thing. So that's what I had always seen is, you know, you do what you're told, you get in a job, you stay there forever, and that wasn't my thing. And part of the reason to be a freelancer was we wanted to start a family eventually, and I wanted to be home with kids. The flexibility, the fact that I could pick and choose what I wanted to do, I could be creative, or I could take the, you know, the production work just to pay the bills if I had to. You know, for a long time I did a lot of game manuals for Microsoft, and then I did UI design for them as well. I did logos for Boeing. Anything that was really in the creative realm, not plain old desktop publishing, laying out a newsletter, that's not so fun to me. I mean, it has its place and it's necessary, but I really like the stuff where I got to be very creative and do a lot of conceptualizing. I actually managed other people at that engineering firm. So I had learned how to do it a bit, but I was super young when I did that, and I wasn't real good at it. And I didn't ever want to do it again in my life until I got to a point where I was freelancing, and this was probably 2001, 2002, and I was hiring other freelancers to work for me. And I finally realized from both a sanity point of view and a tax point of view that I needed to incorporate and be a boss. And I think I finally stepped into myself then. And I've gotten a lot of coaching. I'm a member of Vistage. I have a great business coach. I try to get together with other business owners because we bounce ideas off of each other, because by no means do I know everything. Nor do I ever want to. I think we're pretty easygoing here, a pretty laid-back team, because we're all creatives. And it's necessary to be laid back so people have a lot of rope. And they can either lead with that rope or they can hang themselves. And generally they do pretty well. I've got a really good group of people, so I don't have to manage top-down. I try very hard not to do that, although people are well aware that I'm the queen, and it's not a democracy here, it's monarchy. But I generally don't have to pull that card. People really, if you trust them to do their job and do what's best for the company and for them, they really do. They generally pretty much shine. My husband did. We were standing in the kitchen at our apartment in Ellensburg in 1995 or something like that. And we had talked about my attitude. He goes, "That's a good name for a company. You could just make it Artitudes." And it just stuck. I didn't ever want a design firm named after myself. I know a lot of people who do that. There's so many of them out there, and it just wasn't me. Continue to grow, moderate growth. Right now, we'd like to stay status quo with the economy the way it is, and we're doing pretty well. We're still looking at on target to grow about 10% this year, shockingly. But I'd like to continue to grow. We want to be a boutique firm. We're at 12 people now. We'd like to maybe be at 20 total. You know, if you're a company or a person that's looking for impact in your message, that's where we come in. We can make messages that are very bland and boring, visually impactful, and to mean something to your audience, be it on the web or an advertisement or a presentation. We do a lot of high-level presentation design, kind of putting your message into visuals rather than just words on the screen. Do a lot of integrated marketing campaigns the same way, where we take a spin on what you're trying to say and make it more digestible by a consumer or by your audience. And it's very creative for us, because some of the stuff we get is very dry and high-tech. So it's fun to be able to go, okay, how, as a consumer, would I need to see this to be brought into the message? And it's, you know, it makes people really feel like they're an owner of the messaging. I have a lot of people who help me out. So if I don't know something, I can go to somebody who does know it. But for the most part, I've really been able to learn what I need to know. I'm pretty good with the numbers and the psychiatry and being the office mom sometimes. Because sometimes having employees is like having kindergartners. You know, if you have people who work for you, there's always going to be issues. But we have a lot of fun, too. So it's not as bad as it could be. But as a general rule, I think I'm pretty balanced. My husband is in HR, so if ever I have an overwhelming HR question, I just go to him. And he's pretty good at helping me. My business coach is good, and then my Vistage group, there's so many people in there with different skills, so I can always ask them. You know, when I was going from freelance to being incorporated, a friend of mine who owns a company in Seattle said, "You must be a member of this." And I said, "Well, I must be. Why?" And so she touted the benefits of it, and I called up and I signed up. So I hadn't even gone to a meeting when I first signed up, and I've been so grateful to be a part of it. Because if ever I have an issue, or if I need clarification, or even if I just need to talk to peers, it's a perfect forum for that. I hope so. My husband is. My kids are. Aiden tells everyone, my 8-year-old tells everyone, "Mommy's the boss."